I'm going to do another Flip Cup chameleon cell pour. I've just got this thing about them at the moment. They're so satisfying and rewarding. You dip a little drop of silicone or oil in over water-based paint and you just get the most beautiful cells instantly. It just seems like the most effortless way of creating beautiful cells and patterns. So I've got a water theme in mind. I've mixed up some sort of blues and turquoises. So I'm thinking either of doing a whirlpool, so a spiral in the blues, or waves, ripples. Not sure yet. So I'll layer up my cup or cups. Haven't decided on that yet, even what I'm going to do. One or more cups, flip it over and just, see what I feel inspired to do. So excited to get started. Decided to layer up 3 cups. I've got Amsterdam King's Blue, Iridescent Blue Green. I've got, what's that? Cyan Blue by Amsterdam, Amsterdam White, Amsterdam Greenish Blue, really, really dark colour, and then Pebbio Silver. So they're mixed with my PVA glue and water pouring medium. Now I've played around a little bit with this ratio. I initially mixed 2 to 1, so 2 parts pouring medium to 1 part paint, but I have thickened it up just slightly. So you'll see that the paints, it leaves a trail for about a second. I'm trying to get them all about the same, so for about a second. I want them thin enough that the cells are going to really expand nicely, but I guess I don't want them too thin that they're just going to take over. So I'm going to layer up 3 cups. I'm going to layer them all slightly differently, but in this order. So, okay, I'll start here. I'm using a 40 centimetre canvas. So can you see inside? I don't know if you can. So pretty, such pretty colours. So I'm just going to flip them over. I'll just burp them, just let a little bit of paint come down and out. And then I'm going to tip the cup outwards so that the paint then comes into the centre. That is beautiful. I'm going to just give it a good torch. So there's no silicone in these paints. I'm getting a few cells, but that would just be where the iridescent and the non-iridescent paints just react together. And I've only just mixed these paints, so lots of air bubbles. Right, I'm on the lookout for a lump. I think I found it already. As I was pouring in one of the colours, I saw something go in. There it is. Massive lump. Probably just of unmixed paint, but I don't want that in there. So I'm just going to stretch this out. I'll stretch it to start with before I go off over the edges. I've got plenty of paint, but just to be on the safe side, it's best just to stretch it first, and then you know exactly how much paint you're dealing with, and then you can tip over the edges, the excess. Right, so yeah, I'm virtually covered, so let's start going over the edges. I'm not particularly worried about my composition because of what I intend to do with this pour. Obviously I'm going to be changing it massively when I start putting the silicone, the oil on it. So I'm looking at the composition, but it doesn't really matter too much. And all the colours are very similar to each other. So I think actually however I tilted this would be absolutely fine. and then just leaving it with the weight of the paint roughly in the centre. That is so pretty. It seems a shame to change this. I'm going to, because I've really determined to try and get a good chameleon pour. But that is really, really pretty. So I just get my corners. The paint never, or almost never gets the corners, the way it flows off over the edges. So I just do that now, otherwise I might forget later. Right, now for the fun bit. So I'm using coconut milk hair serum. It's made by a company called OGX. You can use any, I think you can use any oil, any silicone. I just use that because it's easy to get hold of. I buy it on Amazon. So I've just put a little bit into my cup, and I'm using a wooden skewer with a point. So I'm going to just dip the skewer into the oil and then just dab it onto the painting. I would do quite a few little dabs before I put the skewer back into the oil, because once you've got it on there, it stays for quite a long time. You can make quite a few cells out of it. I'm going to try and go for a spiral. I've had many attempts of spirals and they've ended up not quite working. My last attempt, the cells were too small and I wanted them to close up a little bit more, but the paints were too thick. So this is, I'm hoping, a thinner mixture. So I'm going to start where I think the centre is. I'm just having a look. So I've got one cell forming. If I just let that develop, I will get a good sense of the size of the cells. Okay. That has taken me ages. So it has worked. I'll go with the negative first. The negative is that I wanted the cells to expand more than this, so that the spiral would be much more obvious. The positive is that the cells have expanded. So the whole thing is absolutely jam-packed with cells. I've definitely achieved, I think, what I wanted to, a sort of whirlpool of water effect. The cells are smaller than I wanted though, so the spiral isn't as obvious, but just look at the effects. These ones here are still expanding because these are the last ones. Let me show you in the centre. So I did that first, so you can see how they've all distorted, and that's what I wanted. Sort of hexagonal shapes, like there's a triangular one, a square one. That's what I was hoping to achieve with bigger cells. So I've got it, but just on a much more kind of compact basis, much smaller cells than I was hoping. So I know my paint consistency is slightly too thick, even now, even though I thought that was going to be plenty runny enough. So yeah, overall love it. Really happy. You've got the cells, but you've also got the flow underneath. You can still see where the cups were. There was one, there was another, and then that bit there was another cup. So you can still see them. So you've still got that really pretty design. And I love looking at it like this. You can see all the little pits from the silicone. Really pretty. Great. So I'll be back when it's dry. So it's now dry. You don't quite get the spiral effects, but I actually don't think that matters. I love it. I'm so happy with it. It's definitely got a watery kind of feel. Really happy with the way you've got different lines, so you can see the different movement within the colours. So you've got the design and then the cells over the top. Let me show you up close. The cells are all different shapes and sizes. In order to get them all the same size, all the paints need to be identical consistency with an identical amount of oil dropped on them. And in reality, that's just not going to happen. So I think that just adds to the cool effect of this. All different shapes and sizes. And you can see there, that really skewed one, that happens because the cells, as they expand, they push up against each other. Smaller ones here, they're trying to come through a thicker paint, so whatever colour that is surrounding, it was obviously a bit thicker. I just love how they all kind of push against each other and they do their own thing, they make their own pattern. Really like that really dark turquoise line there. And then if you just look at every single cell is different, you just look at the different lines. It's just so pretty. Let me show you the shine. Now this looks very wet at the moment. It's not wet, it's just the oil. The oil just sits on the surface. So what I will do before varnishing this is I will clean it really well with some wet wipes. And then I use a very specific technique of varnishing with a very thin amount of varnish at any one time. I'll put the link for the varnishing video in the description of this video if you want to find it. But it doesn't really matter that there's silicone on this painting. I'll clean it, I'll use my specific technique, and the varnishing works every time. So check that out if you do have any problems with varnishing. So yeah, let me know what you think. Please hit the thumbs up button if you like it, if you like the video, if you've enjoyed watching it, or if you like the painting. And please do subscribe to my channel. Great, take care everyone. Bye.